The engine also has a venturi in the floor channel, which is this piece. It's also served as an insulator to isolate the heat from the carburetor. But the entrance diameter, it's beveled, so there's like a nozzle diffuser, sorry. The entrance here is a larger diameter than this, and that's done to increase the speed of the air or lower the pressure. So to pull in the air fuel mixture at a higher rate. So it could go only one way, even though the holes go in the holes on both sides, but you want to have the smaller diameter pointing into the engine. So it goes like this. So we don't want to block so we have access to the pulsation port. And then the carb goes on that. There should be a gasket underneath here, which it is. And the carb goes on it this way. So the t-shirt is in, look at the orientation, just like what it's shown in the picture here. And then we put the perforated disc over that. You could see how it's just a little flapper that covers and uncovers the holes as the pulsation jet comes through the carb. So put this in. Like so. The disc goes on like this after I run the screws in. Now putting the disc on goes like this. Oops. So that's how it goes. And then I put the top section on for the air filter. All right, so I put the air box back on. Now filter is on there. So I think it's ready to go. Looks good there. Got the speed sensor. New pipe. I'm gonna get the springs in these, and I should put it in the engine tonight, in the truck tonight, be fired up tomorrow. The position sensor is in the wrong position. I was trying to start it yesterday. Got spark, got fuel, but nothing. But you could check. I took the engine out the truck and checking on things. So the timing is off. Based on the manual, the position sensor should be all the way that way. So this gap here, we need to loosen these screws and push the position sensor that way, and then that would be the correct timing or phasing of when to fire the plug. So when the engine is at max compression, then to fire the spark. So now I've loosened the screws and I shifted the sensor in the right location, and I tightened the screw. So that should be the right phasing for when to fire the spark plug. Okay, put the truck back together, put the timing sensor in the right spot, set the needles to base settings. I did not even do a choke. I fully primed with the bubble, and I'm gonna try to start it now. Let's see. Okay, sorry I didn't turn it on. I'm gonna turn it on right now. When I fired the truck up this morning, I realized that I had to bring both needles all the way in for it to not flood. I took the head off, brought all the needles all the way in, and then I pulled on the pull start, and fuel was still coming out of the sleeve. That means it was pulling in fuel at a high rate, even though the needles were all the way in. So the engine was flooded, even with both needles all the way in. So the needles aren't metering fine. For me to get it to run, I had to put all the needles all the way in and get the choke on, and then it would start to fire, and then I would slightly richen the top and the bottom until it started. That was what you heard early in the video when it started. But then when the carb is supposed to be fueling, as the RPM goes up, it would kind of run lean, because you have to keep it lean for it to idle, but then it was too lean for it to run. So I think this car body is messed up. I'm going to rebuild the body of this carburetor from some parts I have. I think I have some car parts here I'm going to use, and hopefully that would fix the problem. But obviously this carb is not working fine. Okay, I got the carburetor switched out. I'm gonna try to prime to see if it's working. Okay, it's filled with air, so it's gonna take a while for it to, come all the way, get all the air out. There it is. Coming back. There we go. Okay, new carb installed. I'm going to set the needle settings to factory. So 50, 50, 1, 50, 1, 150. Now this is not a octane carb. This is actually 668C. The octanes are 668B. So I'm going to start with that for now and see if it starts. Okay, it's fully primed. There's no oil coming out of the exhaust, so I'm going to richen that up so we get some oil going through the engine. So it got too rich. As it warms up though, I'm going to keep richening it until we get some good oil going through the engine. I have no idea of how it was ran before I got this engine, but I'm going to keep it fat for now. So I'm going to start it one more time. So she seems to be idling pretty good. She's holding a steady idle. Let's see how quick she starts. On. There's a pull start at here. Let's see how easy she starts. One pull, one pull. So the Octane is running. There were multiple things wrong with this car. Okay, so to start with, the base engine was good. There was no mechanical issue with the engine. So when I first tried to fire it up, the first issue I encountered was that the needle settings were all the way in. I didn't know why that was. So I put those to factory. I added a flow restrictor that I didn't get with the car. That will impact how the car runs and idles. The carburetor is designed for a 23 to a 29 cc engine, Walbro 668. So for a 15 cc engine, you could imagine that's quite a big carburetor for the airflow mixture, air and fuel flow that goes through that engine from a displacement perspective, volume. So that restrictor is required to reduce the amount of air that goes into the engine. Other issue I encountered was one of these, the spigot thing that the fuel lines connects to broke off, so I had to change that off the carburetor. I added my own CDI box. I didn't get one of those with the car, and I had to put new fuel lines on as well. Now back to getting the engine or the car to run. I tried to start it this morning. It didn't fire up, so I was getting spark and fuel, and I took the engine out. I looked at the position of the speed sensor. It has to be angled at a certain angle for it to phase or fire at the right time. So it was not in the right location, so I changed that. And then again, tried to run it, didn't run. That was when I realized that it was really flooding out, and maybe that's the reason why the prior owner had all the needles in, so the carburetor was bad. So for me to get it to run, I had to put the choke on and turn all the needles all the way in, and then it would idle, and then I would richen both needles for a little bit, but after a while it would fall on its face. So how do I know that was a problem? I took the head of the car off the engine off, and I locked all the screws, both the high and the low needle, and then I pulled on the pull starter, and fuel was still being pulled into the combustion chamber. So the needles weren't metering or weren't seating, they were leaking. So I rebuild the car body, well, with a new body, so that would fix that issue. And then I started it just now, and that was what you heard. So it's idling pretty well. And tomorrow what I'll probably do is try to run it. But so far I think it's gonna be okay. The truck is doing fine now. The carburetor on there is a 668C, not a 668B. To be honest, I don't know what the difference is. Both are Walbro, but it's working. I will try to tune the transmission tomorrow. It had a reverse in there before, so I don't know if that changed the gearing. So I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna adjust that tomorrow if there's no rain. There's no leaks on the engine, nothing. Everything looks fine. So all the guys out there are scared of Octane. Don't be intimidated. When it's not starting, if you have compression and it's not starting, it could be a CDI box, could be battery, could be carburetor or a speed sensor or a spark plug. Nothing else. The base engine is robust, it's tough. It's an OS motor that's run at full open throttle. It's a helicopter engine, very torquey. So speed sensor, carburetor, spark plug, CDI, battery, it's those things, nothing else. And you just need to walk through each one by one until you get it right. And then the last thing is your needle setting. Move really slow, not like nitro where you do 1/8 turn. With this one it's 124, so 132 turn. Very small amount of turn because the needle gain is so coarse, so a small turn on the needle makes a high change on flow rate. So that's one of the biggest issues with this carburetor. All right, stay tuned. So this is part 3, the final part of the 3-part series I've been using for building this truck. Probably tomorrow, if it's not raining, I'm gonna do a running video of this and try to tune the transmission. Okay, I'm out. Bye.